Preserving food and having it on hand for emergencies has maybe been something that your grandparents did. Due to the COVID crisis, however, it is becoming popular again. It is smart to plan for emergencies. We learned that the grocery stores can quickly become, the shelves can become empty from people doing panic buying. Hi, I'm Mary Bourne, traditional naturopath, and I love sharing natural remedies with people for better health. Natural remedies have been around for hundreds, even thousands of years because they work. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to talk a little bit about preparing foods and some remedies. I'm just going to touch on some of these. I will have some links in the description below so that you can do some research on your own. If you click on the subscribe button and the little bell, you'll be notified each time I do these videos. I present about once a week, sometimes twice, and I share natural remedies with you. I give you hints on better health tips and current situations. So my mom never canned. Maybe she did the occasional pickle, but she never canned. And one time I was over at my neighbor's house and she was canning tomatoes, and I thought, why would somebody go through all that? Well, that was way before I was into healthier patterns. And now I really like the idea of knowing what's in the food I give my family and that I eat. So canning and preserving food, like if you can something, it does take up a considerable amount of space. And if you don't have a lot of space, dehydration can be a good thing to do. For example, I took 3 pounds of beans and I ended up with a pint jar of dried beans. So you can put a lot of food in one jar, or if you have these food saver bags, you can food save them in the bags. But the big thing is you want to pull the air out to keep the food dry and ready to use when it hits the water. So we lived in this small house and I couldn't figure out what I would do with any canned food. And also, what recipes would I use them with? So back then, of course, we didn't have YouTube, and my neighbor did. I sat with her and I helped her can tomatoes, and I got a good idea on what to do and how to prepare the jars. And I did a lot of, when we moved into our new house, which was much bigger and we had a storage area, I then remembered how she taught about canning tomatoes, and we canned tomatoes. And when my family was growing, we'd have spaghetti like once a week. So I would have 52 jars of my own homemade tomatoes that I would add certain spices to create spaghetti sauce. And it was very comforting to me to know that I could do that on a moment's notice. I didn't have to go to the grocery store, find all the ingredients. Everything was right there. So during this crisis, people are starting to think differently. And lo and behold, a lot of stores are totally sold out of canning jars and lids. And so that makes it a little difficult for people who want to can. So again, dehydration is a good alternative. Now, there are times when you might want to have some prepared foods in storage because of loss of jobs, weather conditions. Right now in California, it's ablaze, and 2/3 of our country's fruit comes from California. And 1/3 of our country's vegetables come from California. So either the food will get pricier or it won't be available. Now we do get food from like other places, but California is the place where most of organic food is grown. And if you are concerned about pesticides and all of the chemicals they put on food, then you look for organic. So this is the perfect time to start preserving. There are wonderful videos. Now you've got YouTube at your fingertips, and you can search out any kind of preparation for different foods and find a video on it. So there are lots of techniques. You can do freezing as an alternative too, but there's only so much room in a freezer. And if you lose electricity, which we did for a whole week one winter, it can be kind of disconcerting because you got to start cooking up all that food when the electricity comes back on or you lose it. So when we moved into our new house, I met my neighbor Norma, and they're Mormon, and I learned a whole lot about food preserving, and it was really a good idea. I just saw the sense in having food on hand and that you keep rotating and use up and find recipes for the foods that you've set aside so that you keep rotating, because you don't save any money if you throw away expired food. You can buy canned food and that, but when you preserve it, you know what's in it. There aren't any artificial flavors or colorings or any of that. Maybe there's salt, maybe there's sugar, maybe whatever, but it's a minimal list of ingredients. So when, excuse me, when you dehydrate, there's several ways of doing it, and these are some examples of dehydrators. Like Excalibur is like the Cadillac of dehydrators, and this 4-tray beginner dehydrator is $129. You can get the 9 trays and it's $299. But this Mighty Mite is comparable. It too has a dial on it that you can do a temperature control. And you can get this at Home Depot for $150. So it's a minimal investment. Whereas this is my old dehydrator. It's about 35 years old, and it does not have a dial on it that you can control temperature. The flow comes from underneath, which is not optimal. It's better to have the flow come across the trays rather than from the bottom up. The bottom trays tend to get done faster, so you have to constantly do some tray rotation. And so it takes a lot of me time, basically, to go and check on it, make sure that I'm not burning anything or that the one area isn't getting dry faster than another. Now, some herbs can be dried just in the air like this, as long as you have a dust-free environment and it's not in direct sunlight. The main thing you need is some good airflow, and it's a very simple process to do. And then after it's dry, I don't recommend that you leave it hanging there because, you know, dust is in the air. So I put this in a paper bag, and then I fold over the tops of the paper bag and I label what's in it and when I dried it. And that's one way that I've done herbs. And then all you have to do is kind of shake it into the paper bag. And when it's dry enough, you can actually pull the stems off and have just the dried herb. And then you can put it in a jar to preserve it for later on. But I have found that drying veggies and that this is really the better way to go. I have dried so far this year corn, green beans, green pepper, sliced tomato. I've done green pepper, parsley, basil, and I've even dried tomato skins. Now, normally you just throw the tomato skins away, but there's a lot of flavor in the tomato skins, and they dry like paper. And then you just put them in your little magic bullet and powder them. Now, this is a soup mix I made out of powdered veggies, and you can see that all you have to do is take a spoonful like this, add it to some soup, some broth. You can add it to spaghetti sauce, and it's great because if you have people in your family that don't particularly like vegetables, this is a good way to hide vegetables and still bump up your nutrition with these wonderful veggies, and it's very simple to do. And as far as herbs go, I love using herbs as an adjunct to health concerns. Now, earlier in June, we were all told to, you know, stay home and flatten the curve and stay away from the hospitals and all that. And my husband ended up with swelling in the leg. And so we made up this remedy along with some Nature Sunshine lymphatic and kidney drainage. Now, the lymphatic system consists of a myriad of delicate vessels found in almost every tissue of the body, and they contain blood vessels, and these vessels perform essential functions, including the transportation of nutrients from the small intestine into the interstitial space, and the removal of waste products from cellular metabolism. Now, if that waste matter isn't moved along, then it can create inflammation, it can create toxicity. So you really want this system to be moving well. And I found out that juniper is a great herb to assist the body and the lymphatic system in moving along this waste. And this system, the lymphatic system, dumps into the urinary system. So it's a good idea to support the health of both systems. There are other things too, like movement encourages it, deep breathing. And with the mask on, you can't do deep breathing. So if you have to wear a mask, make sure that you take some time during the day to go someplace and take some deep breaths and get your lymphatic system moving to clear out these toxins. So there are lots of ways that you can do herbal preparations. And this is a chart put out by Nourishing Herbal, herbalist.com. And some of the other places I go to for some recipes and that are John Gallagher. He's got a great website and lots of videos where he's made remedies for his family. Stephen Horn, you can take a course from Stephen on being an herbalist, and Rosemary Gladstar, and she provides a lot of dried herbs for people who are using herbs as an adjunct to support better health. Now, maybe you don't have space to grow a garden. I love my garden, but it is a good idea to go to farmers market. You can find herbs, you can find veggies, you can find fruit, all kinds of things at the farmers market. And usually you can get some really good deals and come home and do some preparing. Uh, you you don't want to waste the food and have it go bad. The fresher that you prepare the food, the better it will be, the more nutrition it will have. Um, so, many food can be used as medicine. We know um, bright colors and that provide antioxidants, which help keep us from growing old, creaky. So um, this is just a really, really great source, and you're helping the economy. You're talk to the farmers, find out what they use, if they use anything. Remember, they're feeding their family with this food, and so they're not going to do a lot of GMO or heavily sprayed food. They usually do a minimal, if any, spraying, and a lot of them will do it organically, but they don't have the money to be certified. So this is Mary's Nest. This is Mary from marysnest.com. And she did a 3-part series called Being a Prepper. And that's what she calls somebody who is prepared. And you can download her free book, and it has all you need to know about preparing food. It has a way to list it, how to organize it, some recipes and using it. And she has something what is called the Four Corners Pantry. And you can really save a lot of money when you make food on your own. So Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said, "Let thy food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." And he firmly believed that people did not have to be sick if they ate properly. So when it doesn't have to be a big deal. I love her videos because she makes things very simple. She tries to move you from a prepared kitchen, with boxed stuff, to the traditional kitchen, which is much healthier for you. So when you keep a log on hand, you know what you need, you know what you've used in a year. And as things go on, you can determine what you use, what you need to do more often, and how you use it. You can experiment, create recipes. It's great to teach children how to do this, get them involved in food preparation. So be sure to download Mary's book. I will put a link in the description below. I hope that these videos are helpful for you and interesting, and that you give me a thumbs up, and that you comment or send me an email at Dr. Mary at bornforhealth.com, and learn some preparation techniques. It gives you a sense of well-being and accomplishment. It gives you a feeling that everything's going to be okay, that you have food on hand, your family won't starve, you have a roof over your head, and basically your basic needs are met. So keep focusing on gratitude. Don't forget to email me with some personal questions. Be thankful for the people and the gifts of nature all around you, the flowers and all of the joy that can be had. Thank you for viewing. Until next time, this is Dr. Mary for the Health of It. And till next time.